Good afternoon. In an effort to provide some entertainment and edification to those currently stuck at home during the coronavirus epidemic, I have decided to record a few videos of me telling some of my favorite Southern ghost stories. I'm starting with this story that I told at the Georgia Library Association convention in 2018. This legend is believed to be true, though I have added some dialogue and scenes for effect. It comes to us from rural Talbot County, Georgia, in the western part of the state. So now allow me to present the legend of the Talbot County werewolf. Even today, Talbot County, which is located about 50 miles northeast of here, remains a mostly rural agricultural place. In a small family cemetery in the northern stretches is a monument to Emily Isabella Burt. On that block of stone is carved an open gate, which, in the language of funerary art, usually represents the open gates of heaven. But in this case, it looks like perhaps something may have been let out. Emily Isabella, the daughter of Joel Hurt Burt and Mildred Ann Owen, was born in 1841. Emily's father passed away at the age of 40, just a few weeks shy of her 7th birthday. Indomitably, Emily's mother Mildred took the reins of her family's plantation, overseeing 16 slaves, 2 horses, 3 mules, 20 sheep, hogs, cattle, a yoke of oxen, and 4 small children. By all accounts, Mildred was a stern but loving mother, especially to her daughter Emily. Some accounts that report that Emily was a strange child with an overpronounced jaw, sharp and jagged teeth, and thick eyebrows. She was withdrawn and enjoyed spending much of her time in the family's library. About 7 years after her father's death, the child began to experience mood swings, insomnia, and severe headaches. Worried, Mildred called upon a local physician, Dr. John Gorman, at his plantation Rocky Heights. Dr. Gorman, who had trained at the University of Pennsylvania and in the state capitol in Milledgeville, prescribed laudanum, a commonly used medication derived from opium. The laudanum seemed to help with Emily's insomnia, headaches, and mood swings. But as her daughter's strange behavior continued, Mildred took to locking her in the library. Around this time, rumors began to circulate that something was attacking livestock on neighboring plantations. One afternoon, Dr. Gorman's son, William, who was courting Emily's older sister, Sarah, arrived with disturbing news for the family. The news was so upsetting that he insisted on telling them on the far corner of the porch, out of the earshot of the slaves. Nervously, he recounted how some of his father's sheep had been attacked and killed the previous night, their carcasses mutilated. Sarah, disgusted by the details, quickly withdrew from the conversation and went inside. As she entered the house, her sister Emily approached her from the library. "What is the news with Mr. Gorman?" Emily inquired. "Nothing more than to be on the watch for some sheep that got out last night," her sister answered. "Sarah, I heard him speak of animals being horribly mutilated." Glaring at her sister, Sarah replied, "You should not have been eavesdropping. I'm feeling ill. I wish to speak no more of it." As she turned to walk away, Emily flew into a rage and grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling it with an animalistic strength and nearly dislocating it from her shoulder. Summoned by Sarah's screams, Mildred rushed inside. Sarah clutched her throbbing arm, and Emily stood nearby with tears flowing down her face. Emily was as much disturbed by her angry outburst as her sister. Attempting to quell the situation, Mildred locked Emily in the library. Gathering her own her other children and slaves, she gave them the news of the beast that seemed to be prowling the area, advising that everyone remain indoors come nightfall. As she was climbing into bed that night, Mildred was startled to hear the door open and footsteps in the hall. Grabbing a lamp, she looked into the hallway to see a figure creeping down the staircase. She followed the figure and was quite surprised to find that it was her daughter Emily, unlocking the front door and quickly slipping outside. Mildred followed her daughter out the door towards the path leading to one of the far fields. In the moonlight, she could see that her daughter was acting very strangely. Her child was walking on her tiptoes, and her shoulders were hunched over. Every few moments she would stop and sniff the air with her teeth bared, like an angry canine. Suddenly, Emily turned in the direction of her mother, still baring her teeth and sniffing the air. Mildred ducked behind an oak to avoid detection. Peeking out from behind the trunk, she watched as her daughter tore through the fields towards the family's cattle. Overcome, Mildred hurried back towards the house. Early the next morning, she was awakened by her maid with the news that some of the cattle had been viciously slaughtered. Later, she was greeted with news from William Gorman that some of his livestock had also been attacked and slaughtered, and he was forming a search party with nearby plantation owners to destroy the beast. Fearing for her daughter's safety, Mildred asked if she could be a part of the group. While Gorman was uncomfortable with a woman in the party, knowing her excellent skills as a target shooter, Gorman agreed that she should be a part of his group. Meeting that evening at Rocky Heights, the search party patrolled the fields, but to no avail. After several hours, Mildred decided to retire to her own bed. The others offered to accompany her home, but she declined, wanting to clear her head as she walked. Walking the moonlit road towards her plantation, something suddenly lunged out of the darkness. The creature emerged from the shadows with bared teeth, and unflinchingly, Mildred raised her loaded pistol towards the animal. Again, the creature lunged toward her, and she fired squarely at the thing. There was a high-pitched cry, and the creature scurried into the bush. Mildred was suddenly overcome with the horror that she may have shot her own daughter. Her footsteps sped towards her home, where she hoped to find Emily soundly asleep in her own bed. But as she stepped onto the porch, Mildred spied a small form cowering near the door. It was Emily Isabella, limp, dirty, and sweating profusely. She bent down to cradle her daughter, and the lantern light glinted off of a pool of blood underneath. Her child's hand was mangled. Calling for the slaves, her daughter was carried inside and put to bed. A message was sent to Rocky Heights to summon Dr. Gorman. Upon his arrival, Mildred explained everything to the doctor. He suspected that the child was suffering from lycanthropy, a condition where a person thinks of themselves as an animal. After tending to the child's hand, Dr. Gorman recommended that Emily be sent to a specialist in Europe as soon as she recovered. A flurry of letters was written to formalize the arrangements, and Mildred locked her daughter's door to prevent any further night excursions. Dr. Gorman kept his knowledge of Emily in confidence, and no one in the area experienced further mysterious livestock attacks or death. Emily went to Europe and was treated for the mysterious malady. After her return, she headed back to Talbot County, where she lived quietly for decades. As her health declined, Emily moved to Marietta, Georgia, where she lived with her sister until her death at the age of 71 in 1911. Her obituary in the Talboton New Era praised her kindness and generosity, making no mention of the odd occurrences before the Civil War. Since her death, whispered stories of Emily have made the rounds among family members, eventually finding their way into books and even the far reaches of the internet. Paranormal investigators have looked into the stories and have debunked the legends, though questions remain. Furthermore, locals report that the howls of wolves are heard near the Owen family cemetery, where Emily was laid to rest. And whenever animals mysteriously die in the area, the legend is reborn. Does Emily sleep soundly in her eternal slumber in the soil of Talbot County? Or does her grave reveal that the gate between this world and the next has been left open, unleashing the spirit of a werewolf? Thank you.
Are you